another episode of the Find Your Strong podcast. We have the pleasure of welcoming Priya Tew today. Priya is a dietitian. She's very, very experienced in eating disorders, IBS, and gut health. She's been on telly in the media loads and loads and loads. You might recognize her if you watch our YouTube video. She's also a Pilates instructor, and I think mother to 6 kids now. So you've got your hands full, Priya. Thank you for finding time to speak to us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's certainly busy in my
Uh,
neck of the woods, but lots of fun too.
oh, I bet, I bet. So we thought we'd do a few sort of slightly different things today in terms of what we're going to talk about. We really are interested in your expertise in eating disorder recovery, but also in general, how do we actually know how much we should or shouldn't be eating? And then I thought maybe towards the end we can do a little bit of myth busting because there's a huge amount of misinformation and nutribolics out there, and you're very, very good at sort of dispelling the myths around food and nutrition. So Christine had, before we went on the recording, had some really interesting questions, in particular with regards to eating disorder recovery and sort of how do we know how much we should be eating. So do you want to lead with that, Christine?
Sure. Priya, I always stalk my guests before they come on. So I was listening to a few of your podcasts. I'm really interested in eating disorder recovery and disordered eating recovery. So I've been there. A number of my clients have been there. My daughter was there. It's obviously the eating disorders are growing in numbers and have been since COVID. And I've got a few clients who are kind of post recovery, but just don't really know, or trying intuitive eating, but really struggling with this. Hold on, meal plan, strict, 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 strict. Now it's like, you can have whatever you want. It's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know how much I'm supposed to eat. And, you might get more full than you would normally. And you've no idea about your hunger and fullness signals because you're so out of touch with those. I mean, this is a massive question, so apologies. But just how would you talk to somebody who's in that situation, who really struggling with bridging that gap?
It's such a hard one. So I think the first thing is loads and loads of self-compassion, being able to talk to yourself and to go, do you know what? This is hard, what I'm going
Mm,
through right now. I've got to basically relearn the whole process of how do I connect into my hunger and fullness signals. And from my experience, for some people, that doesn't always happen anyway. So it's knowing that actually for some people, that intuitive eating isn't going to work longer term. Yeah, sure, it's a great aim to have, and I completely agree with that. But what I do find is that sometimes it just isn't what ends up working. So, knowing that there can be many different approaches and it's finding the one that really works for you. But you may well have a meal plan that you've followed for weight restoration. And whilst it kind of makes sense. Oh, well, that's not going to be my long-term meal plan. That was for weight restoration. There is a period where you're still going to need to stick to that whilst you are working on maintenance. So just because you hit the word maintenance doesn't mean that suddenly you cut back on a whole load of food. Because when we think about what the body's doing, when you get to weight maintenance, we don't know what's still happening inside the body. It's likely that there's still going to be a number of months and a period of time where the body is still needing to do things like heal bones and sort out hormones and repair everything that needs repairing inside. So there's still going to be this increased need. What we also know is that when you're working on recovery, alongside your weight restoring, your metabolism is restoring as well, which means you end up using more energy sat in a chair than you would have done previously, which is quite
mm,
magical, I always think. So,
mm,
therefore, when you get to weight maintenance, you are using more energy. Blood has got to be pumped around a larger surface volume. Your heart, your organs, they all have to work a little bit harder. Your temperature, all of those things have to be working harder. So therefore, you're going to use more energy. So whilst on the one hand, it feels like common sense to say, well, I'm at maintenance now, how much do I cut down by? I would say, give yourself a period of time, give yourself minimum 3 months, maybe 6 months, and just test the waters and go, well, actually, how do I feel about this? What are my hunger and fullness levels like? How much energy does it feel like my body is now using, knowing that it's probably going to be using quite a lot still? And we also know from eating disorder recovery that for some people, long term and forevermore, their bodies always need more energy than they did previously.
Wow. So that is a long-term thing that I'm not sure people are necessarily aware of that requirement. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's not something that's necessarily widely talked about. And I
Mm.
don't think it necessarily needs to be widely talked about, because we want to be individual with people. We don't want to be prescriptive and say, right, once you get here, you're going to need X amount, because
Mm.
we don't know. Everyone's bodies are unique and different. And that's why, when I work with someone, I'm like, okay, well, let's look at what activity are you going to be doing? What do you want your life to be like? What do you want your energy levels to be like? What's your body gone through? What healing processes are there still to do? But it makes sense that once your body has had that story of, I had restriction, perhaps if we think about restrictive eating disorder specifically, it's always going to want to go, do you know what, I might just want to keep a little extra. I
Mm.
might want to just make sure there's enough coming in each time. So I would say, rather than thinking about cutting down, think about, how much can I keep in my diet comfortably, knowing that the body has these excess needs. And definitely that's going to mean still eating very, very regularly. So sticking to your 3 meals, and you're still going to want some snacks in there. So I think lots of the people I work with, they go, right, when do I get to cut out this snack? I'm like, we're probably not going to cut it out, but maybe we're going to change it. And maybe
Mm.
we're going to
Yeah.
alter it, and we're going to move away from what you're currently having. And we might find something else that you can have there that isn't quite the same size in terms of the nutrients that are coming from it.
You mentioned, Priya, this is all fascinating to me. You mentioned that for some people, intuitive eating just doesn't work. And this is interesting to me because I sort of struggle with it. To me, hunger and fullness is such a great gauge of satisfaction around food, or how you should be eating generally. And I know those signals, it's much harder for some people to get back there, especially if they've suppressed their appetite for so many years. But coming from the knowledge of seeing my daughter, who is kind of, weight restored, but still expected to eat this massive plate of food that, and shoving it in her when she's not hungry anymore. And she's so it just broke my heart, because it was this, you know that's not her tuning into her body in any way. She's just thinking, I've got to eat this. And at some point, surely it would benefit most people to try and tune in
Hmm.
to. Would you agree, or?
I would agree. So when I say it doesn't work for all people, I think I'm saying that with that caveat that, if it doesn't work for you, that's okay. And
Yes.
I've certainly come
Okay.
across people who are more on the neurodiverse spectrum. So I've got someone at the minute with ADHD, for example. She can't tune into her hunger and fullness signals very well. There's a massive overlap between autism and anorexia. So sometimes for those people, again, it's going to be really hard to use those signals, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be for everybody
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get this intuitive eating space. I do also think that, personally, the way I work is I try and bring in some of this hunger and fullness work and this interoceptive awareness, which is where we're just trying to tune into, what's our body saying? What does it feel like to actually try and tune into my body and feel what's going on? I try and bring that in earlier in terms of recovery. So we're not doing intuitive eating,
Yeah.
we are using some of those skills, and that could be, the heart rate exercise, or
Yeah.
using the feelings wheel and tuning into those feelings, and using techniques like urge surfing, which is where we might actually focus in on a feeling, think about the thoughts that are going on around that, and try and connect some of the dots, but then actually be able to ride it out rather than try and ignore it or bury it.
Mm.
And I think that for me personally all comes within the realm of intuitive eating. So for some people, they might not get to the hunger, fullness, able to know exactly what their body's telling them for food, but maybe they can do some of this other side of work. And that's still all really valid and amazing work to do.
Yeah, that I love hearing that, because I often have to remind people that intuitive eating, as we've all learned it in our training, is a framework, and it's got loads of different aspects. And only if one thing doesn't work for you, for example, if you can't tune into fullness or hunger, there's 8 other things that we
Yeah.
can use and utilize to work on. So that's really, and it's also really interesting to hear that you use sort of interoceptive awareness quite early on in the recovery process, which is encouraging, because I suppose it gives your clients a huge amount of agency, because they are in charge of, they are the ones that can tell you, this is how I'm feeling, this is what's going on for me, rather than you telling them, oh, you need to do this, this, and this, because they actually experience what's going on in their bodies, and they're learning to reconnect to that. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and when we think about one of the things we know really helps people in terms of recovery, it's mindfulness, meditation, breath work. Now, that's really hard stuff to do.
Mm.
So, quite often I get someone who's very disconnected. And when I say, go away and do some breathing exercises, they're like, no, thanks. I'm not going to do that right now. I'll go away and do meditation. They're not going to do that. But if I can find a way of making it more purposeful, so let's do some counting associated with that. Or do you know what? If you do this breath work, what it helps you do is it helps you to later on be able to sense more about your hunger and your fullness cues, and that's the purpose of it. Then I find that can be a little bit more helpful. It kind of opens the doors. So I like to bring not just the interoceptive awareness in, but also this process of embodiment, which is where we're trying to kind of get back into our bodies and connect. What does it feel like? All these grounding techniques and actually, using our senses. I think that for me can be sometimes the pathway towards intuitive eating, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So this really resonates with me, because I think you're a Pilates teacher, and as am I, but I also did a whole mentorship on applied neurology of movement, and every session that I take with clients, some of my clients do not want to be still, they do not want to do the breath work, they do not want to go near that and aren't ready to do that, but they want to move. So every time we move, I say, right, have a think. How do you feel? How does your left shoulder feel? How does your right shoulder pain? You've got a pain in your back. Which side is the pain? Is it low down the back? And just trying to sort of feel into their bodies, and kind of that proprioception. Where are you in space? All of that for me feeds into that interoceptive awareness, and just getting to know yourself and your body a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds a bit woo, doesn't it? It sounds a bit out there when you first
Not woo.
conversations with people. I think it does with people. But one of the things I do in my recovery work, I work one-to-one with people, but I also run group coaching. So I run a 12-week course called the Recovery Tribe, where we do group coaching calls. And I love those calls because I start every call with an exercise like this. So we do some kind of embodiment, mindfulness exercise. And you'll see right at the start, like people can't connect, they're darting around all over the place, which I fully get. I am one of those people myself. But you notice as they go through that they start connecting more, and then I'll get feedback on, do you know, actually it's quite helpful. And my favorite bit that we did in the entirety of this 12 weeks was the breath and the nervous system work. I think when we can try and calm our nervous systems down and really connect into our bodies, that's when we are actually going to start to know, well, how much do I need to eat? Oh, actually, I get it now. I can sense what my body is trying to tell me because I've done all of this previous work first.
And it's important to explain that, isn't it? Because initially you think, well, that has nothing to do with my eating issues, does it? It's just like, yeah, wait and see how it works. It's like flexing a muscle that you need to train to be useful to you.
Yeah, I didn't understand it to start with. And I'm somebody who very much, I'm very driven. I kind of go at a right pace in life at times and then crash. And I hadn't connected in with my own nervous system. And I was very much living in fight or flight for years. And I now know how to recognize that, and that I have to put in place systems in order to help me down regulate. I hadn't got a clue that that's what Pilates did for me. And so
Wow.
at some point I made that link. I was like, oh, this is why I love
Yeah.
Pilates so much.
Yeah.
It kills me the heck out. And then I'm able to actually think clearer and connect to my body better. And so I love bringing in, kind of like stories and explanations in order to help people go, do you know what? The purpose of breathing is not so you know how to breathe. It's so you're actually able to feel where that breath goes in your body, calm your whole mind and body down, and then you're able to sense, what's my body telling me right now?
Yeah.
Oh,
That makes so much sense. And it's really interesting to hear that you have sort of almost retrospectively connected the dots. You probably have been doing Pilates for a lot longer before you actually had that. Oh, hang on a minute. That's
Yeah.
why it chills me out. And maybe intuitively you've chosen Pilates as something that you wanted to do and to teach and to instruct people on. That's really cool.
Mm.
Brilliant.
I think it is also the intuitive eating. It is within the 10 principles. So you've got movement, feeling the difference, and it's all about how you feel in your body. So that's all as I bang on to clients about all the time is how do you want to feel when you move? How do you feel now? How do you feel when you're moving? How do you feel afterwards? Not how do you want to look? How do you want to feel? And that, so it is for me, it sort of all ties in, doesn't it? In the
Mm,
end.
yeah.
And it's magical, isn't it, when it all comes together like that, and you
Mm.
get just all the benefits of I'm calmer, I'm more rational, I'm a nicer person. I know that I go into my studio to teach, and I've just done dinner for 6 children, and it's all quite stressful in my head. All I really want to do is have a bit of a scream. And I go in and teach, and by the end of the session, I'm lovely.
I don't
Nicest
understand.
I ever am.
I don't understand how you can be so calm with 6
I'm
I
not.
I don't understand. I this weekend I have teenagers who are amazing, amazing kids. I'm very lucky, but we've got GCSEs and A levels going on, and I was like so close to just losing it yesterday 100 times over. And I don't know, I'm just in awe of you.
Oh, don't be. I drop the balls constantly. I think it's just we've got to be real about life. So I know it's a strategy in our household that mummy has to go outside and see trees, preferably, or the beach, pretty much every weekend. So we have to go out somewhere so that specifically I say it's for me to connect to nature. Now, what does that do? It helps the teenagers as well.
Yes.
I don't tell them that
No.
unless they notice, because they don't always like to be told we're going out for your mental health. We're going out for our mental health walk. I don't remember if you remember that. There was that whole trend on social
Yeah,
media.
there was a trend. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
It's so true though, isn't it? It's so true.
Oh,
Like,
God.
natural daylight, making sure you get a big chunk of time at some point in your week outside. Like I was gardening this weekend. It all just really helps. And I think it's knowing that if that is so important for me as a dietitian, as a clinician, also as a busy mum, it is so important for my clients and the people that I work with. So I love having these frank conversations about, like, when we're building coping skills, it doesn't have to be that you're sat there coloring if that's what you hate.
Yeah.
About we find what does work for you in order to help bring you into this space where you're more connected and
Mm,
able to grow and learn. When we think about the window of tolerance being in your growth zone, how do we bring someone into their growth zone? It's through using a whole range of different activities, and mine are not meditation.
No.
Is
No.
Pilates, going outside, natural daylight, being creative. Those are mine. So I think we've all got to find what's your jam, what's the thing that works for you.
absolutely. And you're also at the same time, in particular for your children, you're role modeling, like, I need this. And I'm taking it, I'm getting it, and I'm showing you how to do that. Because as mums in particular, we're very good at sacrificing all of us for everybody else, but showing them actually, no, we're going out for me and you're coming.
Yeah.
I love
And this
that.
is what happens if we don't go out for mummy's mental health.
Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
want to go there.
It's a really interesting one because my brother has got little kids. He's older than me, but he's got little kids, bless him. And he said, I said, why don't you go for a run every Saturday? Just he's a doctor, you know, he needs the de-stressing. And he said, oh, I wouldn't be that selfish to go out and leave the kids for an hour. And I was like, but and to me, that's the opposite of selfish, actually. Well, I am much nicer to my kids when I run. After I run, I'm a much nicer person, or after I do a workout, or after I box something, and they will be thankful for that. But it's also good to sort of model not being the martyr mum all the time and actually saying, I need this time for myself, and it's okay for me to, you know, I'm a person in my own right, and it's showing them that when they're parents, that they don't have to be the martyr mum and burn themselves out. And yeah, sorry, I've gone on a tangent, you see, Ella.
Yeah, we love a tangent, but I'm just thinking of I can probably name you 5 clients right now who were almost in tears when they had when I said you have permission to take time out for yourself. It was just like, what? What do you
Mm.
mean? I can make a decision what I want to cook for tea. I'm allowed to go outside when my family is doing stuff in that, and it was just like it's amazing to see, but also quite scary how much we put ourselves not even on the list.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. Um, Talking of tangents, this is my little segue into into something that I'm inching forward towards sort of misinformation and nutribolics, but I've got a little sort of in between that I was going to ask you about. And that is we're hearing a lot about people doing intermittent fasting at the moment. Now, I probably have quite a sort of um, not a very sort of positive thought process for any kind of fasting, but you know, it keeps popping up, and people sort of swear by it, and people, you know, say how beneficial it has been for them, and all sorts of things. I personally see more of a dangerous kind of path if you start restricting, and if you start letting the clock dictate when to eat and when not to eat. I'd just really love to hear your view on the whole thing.
I think it can work for a certain type of person.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's you, then great. Like if it is not impacting your mood, your energy levels, and what you do in life, and your relationship with food feels like it's absolutely on point, then
Mm-hmm.
you know it can work for some people. I don't think that's that many people though. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
a small group. And we've got to think with all of these fad diets and all of this information that's out here, whether there's evidence behind it or not, quite a lot of it is aimed at a small population group. It's not aimed at the global population. So I don't think intermittent fasting is something that's aimed at everybody.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody has got any history of disordered eating or an eating disorder or anything like that, then I would instantly say no,
Mm-hmm.
don't go there. There's other ways to get to whatever place you're trying to get to potentially. Um, we do know that there is some evidence that intermittent fasting can be helpful and it can help with some health benefits. But again, I think it's only aimed at a group of people for whom that works and they're okay with it. Like I
Mm-hmm.
tell you, for me, it wouldn't be particularly helpful. For most of the people I work with, it wouldn't be very helpful at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just knowing that actually that's okay. If it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
work for you, that's all right. It's not
Mm-hmm.
meant to work for everybody out there.
But
Mm-hmm.
how does it tie in with intuitive eating? Because you know we all know that Gwyneth Paltrow put out the book Intuitive Fasting. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to roll my eyes. That's not okay. Sorry. But
Don't
it's
apologize.
to me, it's fasting. You can't intuitively fast because you're basically saying, "Oh, my body's hungry, so I'm going to push it down." So I think maybe that's just my eating disorder head but for me, that's not listening to your body's signals.
I don't know. I know that there are some people who are quite disconnected from their body signals, so perhaps therefore it works better for them, or it
Okay.
might tie in with their lifestyle better in terms of their work hours or something like that. But I think if you're doing something like intermittent fasting, then you do have to plan. Like, it's not just, I don't eat today and I don't think about anything else. It's actually, you've got to plan, well, what is it you're going to eat? How are you going to break that fast? How are you going to make sure you get all of these amazing nutrients in your diet in the space that you are eating? And
Mhm.
if you've got somebody who's really switched on and has that knowledge and is able to do it, then great. That's
Mm.
that's their thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
like, we've got all different types of exercise in the world. I think there are all different ways of doing eating as well. But I do think it requires that level of planning. It's like if somebody was to say to me, I'm going to go vegan tomorrow, I'd be saying, no, let's not. Nothing wrong with going vegan. However, you need to plan it, you need to have the research done, you need to have tried some recipes out, you've got to have stuff in your cupboard, you need to know how your body works and whether potentially you're going to end up being deficient in iron or something like this, and therefore how are you going to top yourself up. And if you've done all of that research and you've really gone deep into it, then it could be the right approach for you, but
Mhm.
it's not going to be the right approach for so many people.
No. And are you not confusing your body with the whole fasting? Are you not telling your body, oh, there's a famine. Oh, no, no, there's a glut. No, there's a famine again. And there's another glut because you're eating in a very constrained time period and you're fasting for quite a long period of time, longer than you would think your body needs to be refueled regularly. So don't you confuse your body with that sort of...
Potentially you could. I
Mm.
do know that there are some studies that have shown benefits to doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it can work for some.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yes, it certainly does run the risk of it being confusing for your body, especially if
Mm-hmm.
you only do it for, let's say, 6 weeks, and then you decide
Mm-hmm.
you're going to move on to the next thing and then the next thing. If it
Yeah.
becomes part of a lifestyle and it's your framework,
Mm-hmm.
all of this time and effort into it,
Mm-hmm.
then I think your body could potentially adapt and, realize what's happening. But
Mm-hmm.
it is certainly a risk, isn't it? And I don't think it's one I would be willing to take.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I think that makes sense because if it's just another fad for 6 weeks, then that certainly will be confusing in some way or other.
And
Definitely.
what about fasted training, Priya? How do you
Um,
feel about that?
I'm not a sports dietitian, so I don't know a whole heap about that. It's not something I recommend. From my limited knowledge, from what I understand, our bodies need some carbohydrate in order to give us that initial bit of energy that then helps us to utilize our fat stores when we're exercising. So you may not want a whole meal before you go, if you're going in the morning to the gym, but certainly having something small to bring yourself up. When you think about, even when you watch athletes doing long events, I'm thinking about Wimbledon where they're having
Bananas.
bananas and things like that. We know that it's good to keep giving your body some energy so that it can keep utilizing the stores that you've got. Certainly someone who has an eating disorder or history of disordered eating, I wouldn't be encouraging fasted training at all. And it's always obviously important to make sure you refuel after you do that. So I've got a couple of people at the minute who actually are working on recovery, and they're long distance runners. And whilst that might sound a bit strange, they are putting in the work around their eating to support that. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
worked on the food you're eating before, the food you're eating during, the food you're eating afterwards, all of those things. And it can be quite beneficial for them. So I think if you're doing any form of exercise, I would certainly recommend you have your snack before and you make sure you refuel during and after, depending on how long your session is.
I mean, it's actually been an amazing thing in terms of my daughter's recovery because she loves dancing, and she loves, theater workshop, and all of the acting, all of that drama. And we've always sort of said, to be able to have the energy to do all of this, you need to fuel your body. And it's actually been a brilliant tool for her, because her passion for acting and all of that is so great that it always keeps her going with food, because she knows actually that she has to do that to keep herself healthy so she can do that. So I think it's a really good tool
Yeah.
for a lot of people. But yeah.
Yeah. And an incentive for sure.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Should we move on to what I promised at the beginning? I love a bit of myth busting, and I know you're the queen of myth busting, Priya. So no, you're very good. I just want to know, because you're in the know, what is the most ridiculous sort of diet fad that riled you up recently, that you feel like, actually, I
FODMAP.
need to shout about this because this is ridiculous? I mean, there's so many to choose from. I'm putting you on the spot here, but
I'm not sure I could choose one. I sometimes am sat scrolling on social media and I next to my husband and I squawk at something and he'll be like, What is it this time? And it's just I've seen something so utterly ridiculous that I start shouting about it next to him. Yeah, so I think there just have been so many. I'm particularly finding the content that about glucose spikes just
hmm
constant at the minute.
hmm
And just the information that's saying we need to eat our foods in a specific order, or that there's right or wrong foods that we should be eating. I think that can be really triggering for people, and certainly what I'm seeing is it's causing some people to cut quite a lot of foods out of their diet.
Mm.
So I think that's quite worrying. I think the carnivore diet is very big right now. There's lots of information about that. There's lots of influencers who are saying this is the way to eat, and there's lots of people trying it. And if you read the comments, they're like trying it, going, "Am I meant to have really low energy and be constipated?" And people are going, "No,
Uh,
just keep going with it, keep going."
oh
So
my
that's
God.
quite a worrying one as well. And I don't think we know the long-term impacts of that.
Can I ask you specifically about, like, there's other brands, but Zoe, and the sugar, to me, all I hear from clients is sugar. I'm cutting sugar. I'm monitoring sugar, and we're talking about sugar spikes and stuff. How do you feel about people wearing monitors who are not diabetic or pre-diabetic?
There was a study that I read last week on this. So some new research has come out that actually shows that CGMs, continuous glucose monitors, are not very accurate all of the
Hmm,
time. Which I was
interesting.
like, oh,
Good
this is
to know.
this is good to know. And
Hmm
I can't remember the exact figures, but it was basically saying that they had compared the ones that you wear to doing finger prick tests, and that the finger prick tests were so much more accurate. And they were getting like a fourfold difference in readings between some of them.
Wow.
So I think
That's
we're getting quite a large difference between what we know is the gold standard of pricking the finger, and between wearing the monitors. That rings alarm bells for me. We also know that there's some difference between how you wear them. So there is
hmm
like an optimal way of placing them, for example. And if you haven't been shown that by a medical professional and you're just doing it at home, then who's to say that you're getting that spot on and therefore you're getting an accurate reading? So I personally don't think that it's something that just the general public need to be doing. I've never
mm
worn one. Do I have
mm
an interest in it? Yeah, actually I do. I would be quite interested because, I'm interested in all these things because of my job.
hmm
Do I think it will be helpful for me? No, I actually don't. I have a history with my own eating, and I don't think it would be useful for me to do. It could potentially make me want to cut some food groups out.
mm
So I think we've always got to think, what are your reasons for doing this? If you've got diabetes, then you should be under a team and be working with
Yeah.
them in that anyway. If there's another health condition for which you feel it could be useful, then that's something to again take to your medical team. I don't think we should be taking all of these things into our own hands without having that support and guidance. That's my personal opinion. And when I read this study last week, I was like, oh, wow, this really shows that the reports and the information that you're getting from these continuous glucose monitors just are not always to be relied upon. They're not 100% accurate.
That's
Take it
huge.
like that, it's not 100% accurate. There can be quite big differences then, and this research was done on non-diabetic people, by the way. This wasn't for diabetes. When we look at it like that, it's like, well, actually, kind of what's the point? Because we have got and had for years information on how foods impact our blood sugars. I was taught this I qualified in 2005. So, all the way back there, I was taught about the glycemic index and glycemic load and how foods impact our blood sugars. That is not new. And I wonder whether that information is always out there, whether it comes across as some brand new thing that we know that certain foods impact our blood sugars more than others, because it's not new information. What is new is giving anybody the technology to track that. So where that technology is quite new and is still almost being tested, it's not accurate yet.
And the other thing I was going to say, when you said that it's not new, the other thing that is new is social media and all these influencers that pick up a particular thing and blow it out to any kind of recognition, and then tell you about it. And because we are so intent on finding a solution to all of our problems, we follow them blindly into the abyss. And I'm just wondering, how can we tell the quack from the legitimate nutrition professional, really? Because there is just so much information out there, and a lot of it sounds very logical. I mean, they package it really well, and then if someone has a gadget, buying into that. It's really hard for someone who's not from that kind of arena to understand, well, this is quackery and this has actually got some substance behind it. What would you say to someone who's like completely lost?
I think it is hard. It's hard for us as professionals sometimes. And certainly I have a little group of dietitians, and we quite often discuss these things around, what about this? Has anyone come across this before? Do we have any evidence for it? Because some of these things that are coming out, they're new in terms of the way they're described. So I think if you are not sure, then firstly, be kind to yourself, because it doesn't mean that you're stupid or you've missed something. It's just that's what social media is doing right now. Obviously, look at someone's qualifications. Do they have a qualification to start with? If it's nutrition, then you want to be looking at somebody who's at least got a nutrition degree. And that specifically is nutrition, I would say, not necessarily anything else that might have lots of things on the end of it. There's lots of different qualifications that are coming out, but we want like nutritional sciences, dietetics. That should mean that that person is regulated. So if I put something up on social media that is a load of quackery, I can get struck off for it. That's the difference, So therefore, I have to be ethical about sharing. Then also looking at someone's other content. So flick through. What else do they share? Do they seem to be authentic? Are they sharing lots of different, slightly dodgy content? Are they selling things? Are they selling lots of supplements and I don't know, powders and pills and things like that? In which case, perhaps this is a money-making market that's in play. But also think about the words that they're using. So if they're saying this is like a gut booster, or this is an immunity fixer, if they're being quite specific with their language, I hate to say it, but a lot of us healthcare professionals are not very good at marketing. We don't tend to use those terms, and actually we're not always allowed to because they're health. We have to be a lot more careful with how we describe things. If you've got someone being very black and white going, this is going to fix everything, then that's instantly going to be a turn off for me. And I'm going to go red flag, red flag.
And, you know, I really respect that, because a lot of our conversation today, you've been like, actually, globally, this is not, you know, and I think the nuance is not always there in these social media posts. But for me, my biggest bugbear in the entire world, well, actually, it's probably not true, is PTs doing meal plans and all of that when they have zero nutritional qualifications. And it really, really upsets me. I get quite upset. You know, I'm like, oh, my PT told me to eat this, this, and this, and cut out this. Do they have a degree in nutrition, or are they a dietitian? If they are not, I don't believe you should be listening to them. Is that too much, Priya?
I don't think that's too much. Obviously, I'm trained in Pilates, and actually, as one of my roles, I actually taught a nutrition course to personal trainers. Okay, so I know the level of training that was in that specific course. It was run by a big provider. It's still a big provider today. And that was a weekend course in nutrition and weight management. The information was great. It was all put together by a nutritionist. So it was good information, but it was a weekend. And I think that therefore qualifies someone to give, you know, some very basic It's probably the same advice that somebody reading lots of websites will be able to pull out, though.
I was going to say, and they will have everything clouded by their own nutrition or food issues. You know, everyone has their own ideas. Everyone is a nutritionist. If you ask your neighbor, you know, what would you eat? Oh, I know everything about it because I read it on one website. So it's really, it's very common, I think, that people think they know everything there is. And as you said, as a nutrition professional, we know that there is not an awful lot of evidence for an awful lot of things. And there's an awful lot we don't know yet, and we don't know any causative relationships. We know that there are maybe correlations, but saying that is so not sexy, is it? It so doesn't draw anyone in. It's just the black and white kind of, this is the fix. That's what people want. And I like that as a red flag to kind of look out for. If someone speaks in absolutes and says, well, this is going to sort you out, that's a massive red flag waving right in your face there.
But it's also the same in fitness. 4-week body transformation. You know, it's actually no. It's the non-sexy thing. It's really, you got to do it for life. You got to build it for life. It's not, you know, it's not a 4-week thing. It's not as sexy, is it?
No, not really.
But Priya, we have taken up a lot of your time today with our many tangents. Ella, you were as good as me at tangents today, so well done.
Thank you. I'm trying. I'm working hard on it.
But I got an awful lot from that conversation, Priya. And it's almost like I have to rein myself in, because I can be judgmental against things like and fasting, intermittent fasting. I can take the absolute opposite opinion, which isn't beneficial either, because it is, everybody is an individual. And really, we've got to see the nuance in all of this. So I do appreciate our chat today very much. And Ella, any closing words?
No, absolutely the same. I mean, you're such a fountain of knowledge. I could just ask you tons and tons and tons more questions. So we might have to have you on for a part 2 at some stage. But thank you so much for giving up some of your time. And I suppose you've got to go on the school run soon, so we'll let you go.
I do indeed. And my voice is not great today, so I'm glad it's held out for this.
Sounded perfect.
Yeah, we've done well.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Priya.
Okay then.
Take care.